What were your memories of returning to B5 for Divided Loyalties at the time after the pilot?
Um, a long time had passed for me in between the pilot and then coming back at the end of season 2. Um, and I'd done a lot of work. I've been on some of the biggest movies I ever worked on, like
Mm,
Forrest Gump, Jurassic Park, and things like Army of Darkness. And I'd also had a child. I had my first and only, who is about, as he's about to turn 30. This
ah.
weekend he turns 30. I'm just like, what? So that's how long it's been, kids,
Mm.
since I did that episode. What? Anyway, it was so a lot of life had happened. I'd done some of, like I said, the biggest stunt jobs I'd ever done, worked with Steven Spielberg and directors of that ilk. And I have really kind of just stepped away from the business of acting because I'd been doing it since I was 15 years old, and it was exhausting to me. Um, the constant rejection, and the stunt world was eating me up. I mean, they
Mm.
couldn't get enough of me, so I just worked job after job after job after job after job. It was awesome. And I did Star Trek Generations, that first movie of that cast, and I had been Gates McFadden's regular stunt double and the stunt double for all our guest star ladies. So it was kind of a really special, joyful time for me, and it gave me a chance to reflect. I stayed in my acting class. My teacher was Charles Nelson Riley. For those of you who remember him, he's passed away now, but he was a remarkable uh, acting teacher, and I really thrived in that environment. But I had stepped away from the business, the entertainment business of acting
Mm.
for a couple years while I
Yeah.
had a child, and reflected on what it was I really wanted. So when Joe called and said, Andrea Thompson wants to step away from the show, is going to step away from the show, and I was wondering if you would consider coming back. And there was a couple beats in that while I processed that what he just said, and then I went, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
like yeah, I'll come back, yeah. I just had a baby, but I'll come back. And Joe is like, okay. He could care less, he didn't care. So, yeah, the reason I wasn't on the show, have we talked about this,
Yeah, you
guys?
mentioned the producer the
Yeah.
first time we spoke. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't like me from a very old classic Hollywood situation. And you'll have to listen to Baz's other episodes to
Yeah,
hear that
which
story.
also
And,
yeah, check that out. It also has the amazing moment when you talk about your time as a stuntwoman on Jurassic Park as well. So yeah,
oh,
I'll
cool.
post it as well. 'Cause there's some great stuff there. But yes, yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah.
So, going back, I was concerned for a couple of reasons, like how do I manage this as a single mom with this baby? And then I was still breastfeeding, so I needed to kind of manage that
Hmm.
situation, and just like coming off of having a child, a lot of women will know this, that you get kind of your brain is not quite the same for a while. And in fact, my brain has never been the same. But I was
Being a
worried about
parent, isn't
memorizing lines.
it?
Yeah, I had pages and pages of exposition,
Yes,
to
you do. Yeah.
explain where, yeah. So I had a lot of work to do, and that I was concerned about that. I was concerned about how I looked. I looked different from when I having a child and all of that. So it was a lot. It
Mm.
was a lot. But I was, and the cast had changed. We had a different
Mm.
captain. We had a
Yeah,
different second. We had a different doctor. You
yeah.
know, Jerry was the same, for better or for worse. But the other thing is that I know sounds superficial, but when I walked on the set, and everyone was so nice to me. I mean, Bruce was just the best um, captain, in that he really welcomed people the way you would think
Mm.
that Sheridan would welcome people onto his vessel. He was just so welcoming and so kind. And Rick Biggs was adorable, and Claudia was hilarious and beautiful, and everyone was so kind of intimidating because they're all gorgeous, but they were also really tall. We were a very tall cast. I'm Claudia and I are 5'9". We're both really tall. And then Rick is like six. He was 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". Bruce is like 6'2", 6'3". Everybody's tall. So the lighting, the sets all had to be kind of built. I heard this later that John Yacovelli had to kind of build the sets so that they were a couple of feet taller than normal because everybody you had to be able to light it and get the cameras in to and not see the ceiling because we
Yeah.
had no ceiling. There was no ceiling.
Yeah, you never saw the
Spoiler
scene in the
alert.
B5.
Yeah, right. It was a lot to just try to maintain my focus to have all that exposition
Hmm.
smooth in my head. And I just talked and talked and talked and talked, and every once in a while someone would interject and, oh, really? Then what happened? It was not there wasn't a conversation that I could build on. It was
Yeah.
just talk, 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 talk.
Yeah, but it's great, very different to the Lita we saw in the pilot episode as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, more the
Hmm.
action packed. You know, with a gun straight away as well. It's yeah, definitely
Yeah.
much more energy. Yeah. I mean, let's talk Lita's journey in the episode. So after that, got that dramatic opening sequence on Mars with the Rangers and the secrecy, and there's obviously that menace and saying it's coming to B5. Lita picks up the
Yeah.
message to warn the station, and he's found unconscious on a damaged ship outside B5. So I like how Garibaldi met Jerry Dawes as the original cast member, how Garibaldi immediately recognizes Lita and gives that very quick recap to the event of the Sheridan, sorry, the event of the gathering before she wakes up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But
God,
yeah,
I
so
forgot that. Yeah.
yeah, because you right back to the part, and I like it because you're right. It's a complete different. You would think the cast changed so much between the pilots and then obviously O'Hare and his problems
Right.
as well, which led
Right.
to Box Night coming as well. So it's a very different cast that you guess from you mentioned from the pilot to now as well. It's the only really the alien
Right.
cast that stayed around. So, but yeah, I like when Lita does wake up. It's much more of an action-driven Lita than the commercial telepath we saw in the pilot. So, what was
Yeah.
it like holding Franklin up at gunpoint, and what was that scene like to shoot?
Oh yeah, I mean I ever since I got in the industry as I became a young woman in the industry, moving out of teenagers stage, I wanted to be an action hero.
Mm,
And it just wasn't really happening yet. My
yeah,
role in Babylon 5 in 1990 was that. I got to be that. I got to be more badass and kind of start to grow into that where women weren't just fainting or
mm,
collapsing in a heap from hysteria in their underpants. you know but, uh, so Sigourney Weaver and then Linda Hamilton
mm.
and I'm not putting myself in their company. I'm not on that echelon of film, but um I was in those years where that
Yeah.
started to happen, and I'm very grateful I got to do that. Joe saw Night of Living Dead, and he loved my character in that,
Mm,
and so he created Lita with that in mind. So when he brought me back, or like in The Road Home in the animated version,
mm.
having Lita be more action oriented, I think it was in her DNA
Yeah.
as far as Joe was concerned. So I loved it. I loved having something to do that wasn't just being a victim or a businesswoman, because
Yeah.
Lita was also a businesswoman. She worked for Psychor. She was a telepath for hire,
Mm,
so there was a business element to that. And I had several scenes like that in my suits with my gloves on, and my
yeah.
hair's all up. But to be able to be a little bit more rough around the edges was is more natural for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that distinguishes you from Andrea. I mean, it's a shame that Andrea. Oh, it's great that you came back, and we're all grateful you came back. Because
Oh,
Andrea
she's amazing. And we're really good
was,
friends. So
yeah,
yeah,
and she
I'm,
was, and she's particularly good in this episode as well. And it's almost
yes,
a
she
shame for
is.
her that she did choose to leave when actually all the meaty telepath stuff came not long after, and you got all that beat. So you got some fantastic storylines as a result. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm great. I would love to have seen you. I would love to have seen you both together more. You only have that one scene, so I
Mm,
would love to see more. Maybe we'll talk about that
yeah.
after we got trailer scene. But yeah, it would have been great to see. But you are quite different characters, actually. I guess the Lita of the pilot is a bit closer to Talia, but actually the Lita now is quite different, and the Lita we kind of
That's
get to
right.
know and fall in love with. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
I think that that Talia was a more experienced telepath when she arrived on Babylon
mm,
5 than Lita was. Lita was like right out of school, she just
yeah,
graduated, kind of
yeah,
thing. And
yeah.
but then once the Vorlons got a hold of her, yeah, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, absolutely.